Good morning. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. This is going to be an amazing day, guys. You want to know why? I'm here. I'm Roth Cornet. Whatever. That's Dan Murrell. A little more exciting.
Whatever.
Joe Starr. But the really exciting news is we have Mr. Robert Kirkman joining us today.
What?
Thank you so much.
Oh my God.
Hey, where's that guy?
This is amazing. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for joining us. You, of course, know him from The Walking Dead. And also upcoming tomorrow, you can read Oblivion Song, his new comic, which we're going to talk about, among other things. We have some fan questions. We'll have the live chat open. Get excited. Let's start with a pretty obvious one, but that I am actually curious about, which is how much do you still, or not at all, pay attention to kind of like the reviewer or critic or Twitter response to The Walking Dead? And do you think creators should never pay attention to any of that?
I pay attention to it. I enjoy it. I mean, I don't know. It keeps you humble. That's real good, you know? It doesn't bother me like it seems to genuinely bother some people, you know, because I'm a firm believer that, you know, my life is, you know, with my family and I do my things and then my work is over here and it's important to me, but it doesn't really define me as a person. So if someone says, man, that episode of Walking Dead really sucked, I go, oh, well, we'll try harder next time. I'm really sorry you didn't like it. Like, I don't really care. So you know, I feel like I have a healthy relationship with it. But I dig it. I mean, it's good to know. I mean, I love the modern, you know, creator experience. Like, I like being able to have that feedback. I like being able to have that interaction. I love being able to respond to people sometimes when they least expect it. That's the most fun in the world. So yeah, I really enjoy it.
Do you have a specific example of doing that where someone was really taken aback?
Yeah, I mean, there's it was a few years ago, and some guy was calling me a sellout. He was like, "It's this Kirkman. He's nagging. We cussing? I don't know." He was like, he's a real jerk." He said other things, and he was like, you know, it's just Walking Dead mugs and Walking Dead T-shirts, and it's just ridiculous. Can't stand it anymore. And so I wrote him, and I said, I'm real sorry about this. I mean, if I could send you a care package, I'd really like to make it up to you. And he was like, oh my God, really? That's amazing. And so I went through his feed and I saw that he had a baby. And the most complete sellout thing that we had done at the time was we did little Walking Dead onesies where the Walking Dead logo is written in crayon, which is just that shouldn't exist. Why did we do that? So I felt like, that's the lamest possible thing we could send. And so we sent a care package, but I made sure one of those onesies was in there. And by God, like a week later, the guy was like, Robert Kirkman is the best. I love Walking Dead. Here's my baby in this onesie. And I was just like, I sent you a box to prove that you were right. And you're happy now. I don't get it. So that was a lot of fun.
That is pretty amazing. I would love to see that onesie.
Oh, another thing I'll do every now and then somebody will post a picture of their bookshelf, and they'll be like, look at my Robert Kirkman collection. And then I will yell at them when I notice certain books of mine that aren't on the shelf, and then I'll get their address and send them to them.
Man, I'm going to start tweeting
Where is
at
Battle
you.
Pope?
Yeah, exactly.
It means we get stuff. So lesson that I've learned so far today is we get stuff if we tweet at you. Yes?
Sometimes.
right.
Only if you're like mean in an interesting way.
Okay, noted.
My feed is going to be fun today.
Well, we do have some fan questions. We'll pepper them in throughout, and I'll be checking on the live chat as well. I think you've heard this one before, but maybe it's a little more relevant right now for reasons.
Okay.
Are there any character deaths that you regret?
No,
right.
Definitely not.
Die.
It's harder in the show because there are actors involved, and the actors actually form this like very tight-knit community in Georgia. And so not only are you telling a human being, you're kind of fired now, you're also saying, hey, all you guys that like hang out and like, are very, there's a lot of camaraderie and stuff. We're taking one of them away. So it's very tough. It's very difficult. And so that part sucks. So I regret the deaths in the show on a whole a lot more than I do in the comic, because in the comic, it's just like, hey, Charlie Adlard, you're drawing different lines. He doesn't care. And I'm very emotional with the characters. So, they do upset me. In the comic and the show, but it's a thing that wears on you to a certain extent. I think in the writers' room for season 5 or 6, I came in on one of the first days and I was like, "Can we just not kill anyone this season and see what happens? Let's just try that for a year." And it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's important that the fan base know that it is as upsetting and it's as big of an event for us internally as it is for them. And we do feel these emotions, but we are trying to tell a story, and we do think that it's important to the story, and so we push on. But it's tough for all of us.
I'm curious when you're thinking of the story.
Except for the Carl death, we were totally on board with that.
Kid had it coming.
When you're thinking about story, because comics are. I think they have some similarity to TV, but also not. Like comics are monthly, and it's kind of like you have storylines that come and go. You have little chunks of story, but then you have like kind of an overarching story. And I think that it shares some things in common with TV, but also not, because comics kind of they just kind of go, and then you plan in chunks, but also you're just kind of going until you decide in your head, well, I'm going to do an endpoint. And the TV, you can do that, but I think sometimes audiences are like, well, but what is the a lot of times people are looking for the bigger arc in a TV show more than so in a comic, and then in a comic book series. Like when you're trying to do that, like just as far as a storytelling angle, is there a difference, or are you just kind of like, it worked here, we're going to try to bring that mentality to the show and just see how it goes? Yeah,
I mean, I think so. I think that with the show, we have the luxury of being able to look at a bigger picture with the comics. I mean, when Charlie and I are working on the comics, I have a plan, but it's not like I've done that before and I'm like looking at it and going, well, maybe I'll try it this way, or maybe we'll do this, or maybe we'll make this part longer or make this part shorter. We are still very much feeling the story out as we tell it. But on the show, we are able to go, okay, well, we're adapting issue 60 right now, and there's this really cool thing coming up that was in issue 160, and if we change this thing here, it'll have a bigger payoff when we get to this. And so in that respect, I think it makes the show, I'm not going to say easier, but it makes the story structure a little bit more solid, and it makes us able to do different things.
Do you think there's any end to this that will satisfy audiences? Because I feel like that's been this big question all along. And to me, it's never felt like that was the point, but I'd love your take on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did just end Invincible, this series that I've been doing for 15 years, and it seems like feedback has, said that was a pretty satisfying ending. So I feel a little better about ending things. Until that issue came out, I was like, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. I have no idea. This is going to be terrible. But I do have an endpoint in mind for The Walking Dead, and I think that it's my responsibility and the responsibility of all the writers on the TV show to the audience, because they've been on this journey for so long. The Walking Dead isn't going to last forever. It might go on for many, many, many more years. But I think that for anyone that's been on that journey for that long, they deserve a satisfying end. They deserve to know that the time that they invested in this thing was all working towards something and was, building to some kind of reward. And so I think to not have any kind of end goal in mind and not have a plan, would be terrible. So there is a plan. I do have an end point in mind. It is, a far way off, so don't worry. But we're building to that. So each and every piece of the story is designed to get us, hopefully, to a satisfying conclusion. But I am fully prepared for everyone to be disappointed.
And get lots of tweets and send them. You can do little videos where you read their alternate endings on Twitter. Do that.
Could you see a future where there's like a Game of Thrones situation where the show somehow, for whatever reason, ends up tracking ahead of the comic books?
I don't think so, just because Charlie and I are working very fast, and we're still. I mean, they're gaining on us a little bit at times, but sometimes we'll, on the show, kind of meander or throw something around, or sometimes we'll pull stories up and then we'll pull something from way back and bring it in that we haven't adapted from the comic. And so I think that we're keeping a good pace. I think because they are gaining on us, if we make it to like season 25 on the show, maybe they'll catch up, but that'll be my grandkids. I mean, come on, like, I don't care. If that happens at season 25, I'll be so old I don't give a shit.
You guys should also know that by the end of this interview that Robert is going to reveal the ending of the show, so you'll have to just watch the whole way through.
Yeah, just make sure you don't tune out.
Yeah, you just can't tune out. That's coming.
How have the spin-offs, like the Telltale game, Fear the Walking Dead, are those sort of seen as just sort of fun extras, or have they become sort of like tools in the toolkit for telling the main story?
I don't know about tools of the toolkit, but I mean, I think that it's important to me that every iteration of The Walking Dead stand on its own, because I think that, you have people that only play the game, you have people that only watch Fear the Walking Dead, you have people that have different entry points into the overall Walking Dead universe, and you want those things to provide their own experience. It was very important to me that everything that we did with The Walking Dead was additive and not detracting. So it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna do a spinoff. Let's do a Daryl Dixon show that takes place in the past and does this. It's like that doesn't really, it doesn't really sustain itself in an interesting way. But the fact that you have Lee and Clementine and all the characters from the Telltale series, and that's its own little pocket Walking Dead universe. I feel like that's the best way to do things.
I think that's probably why it's so impactful, because as opposed to a video game where you just said, Carl just ran by in the background.
Yeah.
You know these things. You told this really just solid, fleshed out story.
Oh, there's a kind of lame story from Rick that we never saw in the comics. That is totally kind of important, but yet they never touch on it in the comics, and I get to play it.
Rick 1, a Walking Dead story. Sure.
Right.
One of the questions that we got, because that game kind of like messes with your head a little bit, right? Because you're put in the position of making these decisions and finding out that you're a bastard. If you are, I don't know. But one of the questions we got that I thought was kind of interesting is when we look in life and there's a big disaster, people tend to rally around and support one another, or try to, or at least tweet about it. I did my good deed for the day. I retweeted a thing. Hashtags. But these kinds of post-apocalyptic shows and movies tend to be so pessimistic about human nature.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
That's because I have a terrible outlook on life, I
Yeah,
guess. I don't know.
very well.
I mean, no, I mean, that is,
I know only bastards.
I think that to a certain extent, Rick and his group, you see people coming together, you see people cooperating. But, if the zombie apocalypse were to be portrayed in a television show where everyone came together and tweeted about how much they hated zombies and worked together in some kind of like cooperative way to rebuild society, that's a boring show.
That is a very
you
boring
need some
show.
drama in there. You need to put some crazy people in there. But there are crazy, terrible people in life, and so I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that every now and then a Negan's going to come along and cause some drama. But I don't know. Maybe I'm too negative.
No, I think you're probably right. Sadly,
I'm too negative.
Oh no,
You are, Robert.
Let's cheer you up. Have you seen Denying Black Panther?
She's great.
She's great.
She's fantastic. I mean, I was just looking at I don't know, some news about Avengers Infinity War or something. There's that shot of Captain America and Black Panther and the Hulk's in the background, and like Scarlett Johansson's right here, and then there's Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier, and then this person I know is there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Right?
I was like, this is so weird.
Isn't it interesting just when you look at a show that is this massively successful and the cast and who's going to break out or not? It's always so fascinating to watch who actually does in the end. Like, do you think about that at all with this cast? Who's going to continue on?
I mean, behind the scenes, I mean, we've got pools going as to who who becomes the Bruce Willis and who becomes the I'm not going to say, but no, I mean
the Bruce Willis.
No, I mean, I think that's. I mean, every actor on the show is fantastic, and I see amazing potential in all of them, and it is kind of exciting to think like, oh my God, is Ross Marquand going to be like the next, Harrison Ford, or are we going to see more of these guys like popping up, and what's Lauren Cohan going to do eventually? Like, it's cool to think about like people starting in this show and doing great things. I mean, who knows? Maybe Chandler will play Batman when Ben Affleck finally steps down.
If he hasn't already.
Do you like fantasy casts? Like, are you writing like Oblivion Song? Like, all right, when this is a movie, I'm gonna grab Denai and Chandler for the AMC show. It's like like the Kirkman players. Like, are you kind of thing like I'm casting this person?
I mean, there's been you have those thoughts, but I've tried to keep myself from doing that just because doing Outcast especially, like you start casting something and then you're like, oh, they're not available, like, oh, so I don't really ever want to get like attached to like the idea of an actor playing a character just because it's peak TV. There's literally like 4,000 shows being made every week on networks that we've literally never heard of. And so, you're like, oh man, is Ed O'Neill available? And you're like, no, Ed O'Neill's doing a new show on the Shoelace Network. And you're like, what? Oh, I didn't know about that. Jeez. So
I can't take him away from Shoelaces. It's a fit.
I got the Shoelace Network as soon as I found out about that
absolutely.
show.
I got a screener from Shoelace the other day. They're getting in it early.
You
So
get all
good.
the screeners.
Great.
So good.
Well, I mean, you've 15 years on Invincible.
Yeah.
Was there a moment with Seth Rogen where you're like, I've been thinking about this person for the past 14, 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, no, not really. I mean, especially, with Invincible, it's supposed to be a young kid. I don't watch the Disney Channel that much.
Yeah.
That much.
Missing out.
I don't want to act like I'm disparaging the Disney Channel. They're going to be our future overlords.
They
Disney,
are. They're
so,
gonna be bosses.
they'll eventually
They're
own everything.
They're our current
Are
overlords.
they your current overlords? I didn't know
I think
that.
they're all of our current overlords.
Yeah, they haven't
we're
bought me
honest.
yet.
No?
But if they're
Are you
interested.
for sale?
Oh, baby.
What's your number?
Oh, it's lower than you think.
What does what's the Fear the Walking Dead world look like at Disney?
That would be cool. I mean, we have a right at
Yeah,
Universal,
Universal.
so.
Poor Universal.
the
We're
maze,
kind of
yeah.
screwing them.
Yeah, Disney will buy them too.
It's probably true, though. That's the scary part. Devin actually wants to know, and let's talk about Oblivion Song.
Oh, sure.
What were you going to say?
Oh no, I wasn't gonna. I was gonna make a joke about Disney won't accept my Amazon bucks or something. 'Cause, it's just like there'll be two companies, they'll each have their own currency.
It's
sorry.
not that far from the truth. So Devin wants to know, would you be interested in pitching, say, Oblivion Song to AMC? Would you want to develop? Are you thinking about that already when you're writing the comic now?
I mean, it's not something that I think about in an overt way. It's something I'm aware of, the possibility of it and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's. I just want to make a good comic, So, and that is a somewhat difficult process, to be completely honest. And so, try to focus on that. And then, now that it's out and everything, I mean, we're in talks with a lot of people and stuff and trying to figure out what, avenue we're going to go. And it's nice to have, a lot of different choices available to us. So that's really cool. But really, I mean, if you're putting the cart before the horse and trying to think about that stuff while you're trying to craft a story and work with an artist to build a comic, it can be a little distracting. I mean, to be honest, I kind of went through that process on Outcast, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm just going to sit over here in a corner. I'm going to do this, and then after that, I'm going to do this. So I feel like I've learned my lesson.
Can you just describe, for those who don't know, a little bit about the story?
Yeah, Oblivion Song is about a scientist named Nathan Cole. He lives in modern-day Philadelphia, but in this modern-day Philadelphia, there was an event called the Transference, where a large chunk of the city basically traded places with a large chunk of another dimension. So if you're on that large chunk, suddenly the rest of the city is gone, and you're in this apocalyptic hellscape, and there's monsters everywhere. If you're in Philadelphia, a big chunk of the city's gone, and now there's monsters running out of it, and it's this big event. But over the course of 10 years, they realized that these people are lost in this other dimension. Nathan introduced this technology to go over and start rescuing them. But as they rescued fewer and fewer people, the government eventually shut the program down. They built a big monument. They tried to move on. But Nathan, he won't give up. He keeps his technology working with like spit and duct tape, and he goes over there every day, continuing to try and find people that are lost in this other dimension, because one of the people that still haven't been located is his brother. And so he's going over there trying to find him.
Sweet. And Joe, you had a good question about that.
I was curious, was there like a particular real world tragedy that kind of got your mind sort of ticking about like, sort of diminishing returns and how much we are perceived to like care about these events? And
Well, I mean, it's everything from 9/11 to school shootings to overseas wars. I mean, it's unfortunately we live in a world where there's no end of inspiration for us getting used to absolutely cataclysmic, horrific events.
Well, the interesting thing to me is that he's sort of looked at as kind of an eccentric, because he continues to care.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, why are you making us remember this thing?
Yeah,
we're trying to move on, and you keep every 6 to 8 months he finds another person, and we all have to accept the fact that we ignore these people and have completely turned our backs on them, and so he's inconvenient to the population at large, which I don't know if there's any kind of real world analog to that, but.
It's funny when you
apathy is probably just
large
large scale.
But I tweet I tweet a lot of things.
I hashtag.
So that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag transference.
When you were pitching the story, and you said it takes place in Philadelphia, and there's an event called The. For a second, I thought you were going to say The Happening, and I thought that this was a tie-in with the
Oh man, that would have been
between
a
The
terrible
Happening and The
idea.
Transference. Philadelphia's had a rough go of it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Plants, trees.
Plants
Yeah.
taking over.
I should have got the rights to that.
The Happening.
Favaro Films asks, this is kind of an interesting question. What is the best way to land a showrunner? I would more...
Best way to land a showrunner?
Yeah, so I
You
guess
get a big hook and you make sure the
'cause they're-
bait is exactly what you need.
They're like excited to be joining. So I would ask, what are you looking for in a showrunner? What do you prefer?
Someone who works reasonable hours.
All right. God, that sounds amazing. Do you... Reasonable hours.
It sounds like a joke.
No, it doesn't.
But I've had meetings before where I'm like, so, what's your process? Like, what do you think? And they're like, well, we go in the room and we beat the story to death until it's good. And, if we got to order dinner, if we're there till 11 o'clock, like, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, great. And no. And then the next meeting, they're like, I feel like, you can only do so much. And if you hit a wall and you can't really figure it out, like, go home at a reasonable hour and then, come back the next day and you'll have that idea worked out. And I'm like, all right,
You're
checking the boxes.
You're in guy that lets people see their families.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all great. Different methods. I shouldn't have said that publicly. I regret that. You know what? Let's cut that out. This isn't live, is it?
No,
But,
not at all. Yeah.
Now let's name names.
There's no, I
And
don't
then
think
things
there's-
like creativity and, writing ability.
Those are also
Those help.
important.
Yeah.
All very important.
I like your priorities. I'm not kidding. I think reasonable hours is, we've been talking a lot about how this industry is changing, and certainly I think reasonable standards for human behavior is a great goal, right?
It's a very good goal.
Yeah.
It would be very difficult to achieve
Yeah.
in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that was a good answer, wasn't it?
It was a great answer.
Yeah. Showrunners, let your writers go home. I don't know what camera to look at. Oh, the one with the red light on it?
Yeah.
I'm not good at this.
The one with the red light, but the red light actually just switched. Yes, let everyone go home and have a reasonable life. I assume the
Yeah.
people working for you, they have a reasonable life, yes?
No, definitely not.
Oh, good.
It's
It's just,
working
like,
just
straight
to
up.
the bone, and it's bad. It's real bad.
Did you pay any attention? I mean, how involved were you or not with, we're talking about what's going on sort of behind the scenes with
Sure.
Lauren Cohen and her negotiations. Was that
Oh,
just
well, I'm not
other-
commenting on that
Yeah,
in any way. What
very
are you
well.
talking about? What's going on? I have no idea well, I'm just going to drink this water. But no, Lauren is amazing actor. And, unfortunately, a lot of things have leaked out into the press. But, things are still very much ongoing. And,
And she might play Batman
she might play Batman. Yeah.
when Ben Affleck inevitably drops out.
do you get? And this happens on all the blockbuster movies, but you hear these stories of people jumping fences and crawling into trying to grab pictures or trying do you know, does that happen on the set, particularly when you have between seasons and you're coming back and shooting? And a lot of the show was shot outside, and there's a lot in Georgia.
Oh, yeah,
are there
there's-
people that are just skulking around, sneaking on set?
Well, no,
and trying to
it's
grab,
even worse. It's fine. It's great to have a dedicated fan base, and they're usually very respectful, and our actors are awesome. They actually go out and talk to people, and they'll usually be waiting in a specific area, and when we're not shooting, people will go out and say hi to them and stuff. The funny thing is we've had actual news helicopters from local news places flying over set trying to get footage, and we're like, we literally can't film because you're filming us film, and we're trying to work, and you're just come on. That's happened a few times, but yeah, it's it just means people like your show, so that's good. There was one time I was trying to go into the writer's trailer, and I heard psst, psst, Robert. And I was like, what? What's going on? And I looked, and there was a bunch of bushes, and there was a fence, and there were some people waiting through the fence, and they were like, hey, can you sign our book? And it was a chain link fence, and I was like, I think I can figure this out. Hold on, hold the book right here, and I had to stick the pen through the chain link fence, but it
It's
happens.
gotta be flattering. And
Oh yeah, no, it's real.
weird.
Yeah, I'm really hard to be around for the next half hour when something like that happens.
Yeah. Some guys just walked through the woods for 3 days to see me.
Do you have a lot is made of course, the makeup's on the show.
Sure.
I may or may not have a personal investment because I have a friend who works on them. Do you have a favorite zombie? Do you have a favorite piece of practical effects?
Jeez. I don't know. I mean, there's some great stuff coming up. Yeah, that's the thing. There's always stuff coming up that, because Greg and the team at K&B are always improving things. They're
amazing.
We just did the pitch out for, they are amazing. They're fantastic. We just did the pitch out for season 9, and there's some really cool stuff coming. And in the pitch, Greg was like, "Oh, I can't wait to get started on that." And I was like, "I can't wait to see that." So they're always coming up with like cool new evolutions for the zombies, and there's some big stuff coming up in season 9 that I'm hinting at that I'll probably get in trouble for, but zombie wise. But yeah, I don't know, the well zombie. I should have just said the well zombie.
I was gonna say the well zombie because it's such an easy one, right? To be well zombie's amazing.
Yeah.
I kind of like the one in the car. It's all like.
I can't remember exactly what episode it was, but there was the ones that were all like water damage and like the stuff dripping off of them. I don't know. I can't keep track anymore.
Yeah,
when was that?
Just
Season
awesomely
6?
Nasty.
I don't remember. But, yeah.
So we do have a question from Peter. Speaking of Batman, would you ever be interested in writing or producing a Marvel film or DC? I love questions like that. Do you love questions like that?
I love them, yes. I mean, not really. I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy doing my own stuff. At Skybound, we like, doing new ideas and bringing new IP into the world. I don't know. I enjoy watching Marvel and DC stuff, but I wouldn't be able to watch it with the same kind of fan enthusiasm if I'd actually worked on it. So I'm just going to say no.
Is that the kind of thing that, like, obviously, well, you don't have to answer.
I will say this, though. I am dying to, at some point in my life, see a Batman movie where he's in something other than a big black rubber suit. I think that, Batman and, like, go back to the blue and gray costume. You can make that look cool in a movie. Like, just do something where Batman can actually move and look athletic.
You don't like Robot Batman?
So I don't want to do a Batman movie, but I'm just saying, Matt Reeves, if you're listening to this, like, just ditch the rubber Batman
He's
suit,
an acrobat.
for God's
He's
sake.
very lithe, Batman.
Yeah.
He can,
Do you have a
he's
favorite
gymnast.
Batman?
Batman should look like a ninja.
Yeah. You have a favorite Batman? Batman's coming
My
up a
favorite
lot.
Batman?
Yeah.
I don't know. Favorite Batman? Michael Keaton?
Michael Keaton.
Sure.
That's good.
That's the one. Solid.
Is that the kind of thing
Bring
though,
him
where like we always are reporting on so and so they're developing this, they're developing that, with so many genre movies, particularly superhero movies happening right now? Is that the kind of thing where studios just literally call everyone in to come and pitch, like, come pitch us your comic book movie, or we're working on one, we want to meet with you? Like, it seems like that's the kind of thing that they would cast a wide net on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, that happens from time to time. They're definitely bringing in, tons of people. I mean, I feel like it's not like, hey, come in and pitch us whatever you want. It's more like, hey, we're looking for somebody for this thing, we're looking for somebody for this thing, and then they bring in a mess of people to pitch for that individual thing. But yeah, I mean, it's the Wild West out there.
Yeah.
Doing a Captain Marvel movie. Wait, they're doing a Captain Marvel movie and they're doing a Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah.
With the Shazam guy. Because they're like, it's confusing.
It's like Deep Impact and Armageddon, Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay, Deep Impact's the better movie. I said it, and it's on the
fair.
record.
And Dante's Peak is the better movie.
Yes.
Oh, the Volcano?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it.
This is your latest baby. Do you feel more of an attachment to what you're currently working on? Is that kind of your favorite child?
No, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, I'm more excited about the new stuff. So, it's doing the new stuff that gets me excited and allows me to keep doing the older stuff. Like, it's that idea of, bringing something new into the world and doing something that's new and different and that, like, raises my energy level, and it gets me more excited about Walking Dead. It gets me more excited about Outcast. It keeps the creative juices flowing, I guess I'll say. So I mean, that's my answer, I guess. But it's not like I love Oblivion Song more than I do Walking Dead or anything. I don't really play favorites, but there's a newness to it that, like, charges me up. So that's why I'll keep doing new projects.
Well, Skybound's been getting into TV and film just more and more and more. Is there anything over there coming up that you're more excited about? Or
Yeah,
kind of pumped for?
this question's always super difficult because I can never keep track of what's been announced and what hasn't been announced. But hold on. I mean, we're doing this 5-year project that is super awesome that has been publicly, talked about to a certain extent. We're partnering with Vicky in Korea to do an actual like K-drama that's based on this idea that I had called 5 Year, and we're possibly going to do that in other regions as well. It's about people dealing with the knowledge that an asteroid is going to come and destroy the Earth.
Right.
And so we're doing this cool project where it's kind of worldwide, where you have different shows in different regions that deal with that stuff.
Which really kind of takes advantage of the streaming model, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And it's stuff like that where it's like kind of unique and weird and strange and it's like, oh, that's a crazy way to do something. So those are the things that really get me jazzed up. And we're doing some weird stuff in VR that I don't think I can talk about.
Sure you can.
Yeah, you can.
No, I can't. I'm doing a Batman movie, but.
His head
the ceiling
moves.
would literally collapse in the studio.
That would be it.
Batman.
That would be our death. Our own Spencer Gilbert actually asked, the story goes that Image agreed to The Walking Dead because you promised there would be aliens in it. Mm-hmm. How are you going to get aliens so that Image doesn't notice they haven't shown up yet?
Oh, no. Well, when the book was successful, they didn't care.
They didn't care anymore.
So, I lied to them. I'm not actually going to put aliens in them.
I feel like there's...
I mean, I don't know if I'd put it quite like that.
There's got to be at least one guy at Image that's like, where the hell are those aliens, Kirkman?
Come on. Somebody's waiting on those aliens.
Not at this point. No, I mean, Eric Stevenson, he's the publisher now. He was the marketing director at the time. And when he called me up after the first issue came out, he goes, I didn't notice any aliens. I mean, were you hinting at that plot? Or is there something that I didn't see? And I was like, yeah, I lied to you guys. There's no aliens in this book. And he just went, probably better for it. So.
In a way, streaming has opened the door to Joe's point, stranger stories, but it's not like you haven't been able to do anything you want so far, really. I mean,
well, you don't know what I want to do.
Well, what do you want to do?
I mean, we're doing stuff with Amazon now, and so it's nice to, because they're really into, changing the model to a certain extent, not following the structure that television normally follows, and that's something that's really exciting. I'm doing some projects now where we're kind of fiddling with that in some interesting ways, and it's all about surprising people. That's what I love doing. I mean, Walking Dead is working at its best when you get to the end of the episode and you're like, wait, what? Like, what's going on? When's the next episode coming out? Like, what happened? And anytime you can do that in any kind of way, I mean, that's the stuff that excites me as a viewer, and so that's the stuff that I really want to do. And being able to not only do that in a story, in a narrative way, but actually with the actual structure of the way you're delivering certain things and the way that the story is being told is even more exciting. So I love this like brave new world of crazy media being broadcast on shoelaces in the back of hats and
that shoelace network, man.
whatever is happening these days. I don't keep track. I'm old.
The Ed O'Neill resurgence. That's what I'm here for.
I'm just going back to those old jokes.
People are talking about VR. It is interesting to think about how it'll be used, especially for things like horror.
Yeah.
And we'll see when you announce it at the end of this episode. George wants to know...
Batman VR, coming from Skype.
VR. Batman follows me everywhere,
Batman v. The Walking Dead, VR.
Wants to know, what current comics are you reading? What inspires you?
I mean, I just... there was a book that just completed called Rock Candy Mountain by this guy named Kyle Starks. I really like that. Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips do this book called Kill or Be Killed that I absolutely love. Got to do the obligatory plug for Saga, even though they don't need it, but Brian K. Vaughan, Feeling Staples, absolutely amazing book. Really like Rick Remender's work. He does Black Science with Matteo Scalera. Mm-hmm. He does Low with Greg Ticini. He's got this new book coming out called, what's it called? Death or Glory by him and this artist named Ben Gall. I've seen it. It's a really great book. So yeah, I mean, I mainly only read Image comics.
Do you have a comic that's not your own that you're dying to see adapted? Like, are you one of those, like, where's why?
Skybound does this book called Birthright that is just this absolutely amazing story about this child that's been lost. And the police are blaming the father, and it's this really tragic story. And then he shows up, and the police call the family in, and they're like, "Yeah, we've we've done some DNA tests, and we found your son, and they're taken in there, and their 8-year-old boy that's been lost for a year is in police holding, but he is a 35-year-old jacked barbarian that has all kinds of scars on him, and they're like, what? And you find out that their son got lost in this, like, you know, Narnia-like alien world, and has lived like this entire lifetime as this like savage barbarian, and has come back to them. And then there's all kinds of like great intrigue with this other world, and things spilling over into Earth. And it's by Josh Williamson. It's a absolutely amazing book, and you know, we're hoping to do something with that.
I'm curious, 'cause growing up for me, there were these little pops of kind of genre stuff, like the Keaton Batman movie or the X-Men animated series. Like there were certain projects or shows that popped, but generally the kind of geek, the comics and zombies and superhero stuff was still kind of a niche thing as far as like, well, that's what the nerds do, and then this is movies. And then the last 10 years, really, Dark Knight and Iron Man, I think, kind of kicked it off. Like now that is largely pop culture, is superheroes and zombies and all of this genre stuff.
It's either a superhero movie or a movie where Dwayne Johnson is basically a superhero, even though he's a normal dude.
Exactly. He's the Hulk, but he's just Dwayne Johnson. Why do you think it is just kind of all of a sudden, you know, the last 10 years, all of this stuff kind of went from, well, you know, some of the stuff works, but it's kids stuff, and it's more hit than miss, and you know, that'll never be a popular thing. That's just very niche to like, this is driving the culture. It's the #1 show on television. It's the #1 movie every year at the box office. Is Star Wars or comic books. You know, why do you think that is? Like, just in the last decade, that's been like, culture was just like, all right, this is the thing now.
Well, I mean, I think that movies have changed to a blockbuster mentality. There's not even really a summer blockbuster season anymore. It's blockbusters every single month, and you want the biggest, loudest thing to get more people to come in for that opening weekend. So like the structure of like how the movie business runs has changed at the same time as technology has gotten to the point where there's all this source material in comics and sci-fi and things that could have never been adapted in any kind of satisfying way that now can. And, you know, when you compare the Marvel movies that are coming out now to, you know, some of the earlier, you know, non-Feige Marvel films, it's like night and day. And, I mean, going into something like Infinity War, I mean, I think that, you know, people are going to, I don't even know how that thing is going to, like, be like, there's like 400 people and they're like on different planets and they're fighting like a dude, and I don't know why, like, is that thing 9 hours long? So like it's even changing what the heck a movie is. But you know, just to be able to take this genre comics, this medium comics that have you know, just kind of been locked away, being unadaptable, and now that you can do it, I think that audiences, it's hard for audiences to go back to Bruce Willis running around with no shoes after they've seen, you know, gods knocking buildings over and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So we're screwed.
Yeah, I think that we're screwed. We're gonna have to let you go. I just had a follow up on that. Just curious if you have a take on why there does seem to be this desire to kind of pick a team when it comes to comics and either be Marvel or DC. What is that about?
Because one of them sucks and the other one doesn't.
Okay, which one sucks?
I can't say.
No, you can't.
But I don't know. I mean, I think it's you know, it's tribalism. I mean, that's what we do in politics. That's what we do in pretty much everything. Everything that we're passionate about.
Yeah, you're an image guy. I'm a 1994 image guy.
Yeah, yeah, there we go.
Tribalism.
I'm sorry.
Well, I think that we're all...
I like Shadowhawk as much as the next guy.
We're all a Robert Kirkman guy. Oblivion Song, available tomorrow for you, for your reading pleasure. You should definitely check this out. Is there anything else you want to plug?
No, I think that's enough.
Where should people tweet you to get their onesie?
I'm at robertkirkman.com. I think it's at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to do that.
Go ahead and tweet him. You will get things. I'm going to start tweeting you every day.
No, not doing it this week.
Every day in the hopes that I'm just going to get something. Hey, Robert, feeling like a Walking Dead cracker. Got any of those? All right, thank you so much for joining us today. That was awesome and amazing. Thank you for answering our questions. Thank you for submitting your questions. Go check out Oblivion Song. Let us know what you think of it in the comments below. Be nice to each other. It's nice to be nice. And we're not in the zombie apocalypse yet.